जय हिंद एवरीवन। आज हमने फिर से अपने साथ बुलाया है कमांडर राम गुरुंग। Commander Gurung is an ex-submariner, an ex-NDA, and while he was in service, he also completed his MBA from the prestigious Faculty of Management Studies. In addition, he has Six Sigma Green Belt from the reputed Indian Statistical Institute. After his service to the nation with the Navy, he worked with Grant Thornton in the defense and aerospace industry, and now he has taken upon himself to assist services officers, armed forces officers into the transition from uniform to corporate. That's a venture he has started, and wherein he personally mentors and coaches officers wanting to make that transition. We have been seeking his help in providing transition advice to our audiences almost on a monthly basis now. Thank you so much for your contributions, Ram sir, and welcome to today's talk.
Yeah, thank you, Vipul. Thank you so much for inviting me to this particular platform. You're talking to almost about 40 plus transitioning veterans. And I really like to thank you, Colonel Manish and Major Jayesh, right, for running this particular platform. It's a unique platform that is basically designed to help the transitioning veterans and even the veterans in the corporate. Because in spite of your own jobs and the work, running a platform like this is not an easy task to do, and require a lot of effort and commitment, and also heart actually that goes for the veterans. So thank you so much for that.
Sir, आज मैंने आपको I have the topic I had requested you for your guidance was while officers are transitioning when they are wanting to be in the corporates, a lot of them undergo rejections at the interview phase or maybe even at when they are applying for jobs and all, and they actually are not really used to this particular aspect because that's not how the armed forces have worked for them, and a lot of them at times it even impacts their self confidence. I've seen that happening. I've seen that happening for myself when 15 16 years ago I had come out and I was looking for opportunities. It was actually a very difficult situation. So if you can give some guidance as to why do these rejections happen and how common in your, because you work with a lot of veterans on this particular aspect, so how common are these for the transitioning veterans?
Okay, so let's jump directly into the topic, right? Considering my own case while I was making a transition, and also I keep talking to a lot of transitioning veterans on almost day-to-day basis. Now, when I say job rejection, actually it may mean two things. Number one is somebody is applying for a job, but is not getting any interview call. And second case, the person is getting interview call, लेकिन interview में success नहीं हो रहा, finally जो goal है कि job offer मिल जाए वो नहीं आ रहा है. And इसमें जो most common reason होता है, that is basically the mismatch between the skills and the experience that is shown on the resume and the one that is required as per the job description, जो उस particular position के लिए चाहिए. So if there's a mismatch, then there's a high chance. Now, resume का template बड़ा अच्छा है, उसमें बहुत अच्छी तरीके से लिखा गया है, everything is there. But if it is not relevant, let's say, somebody is applying for a supply chain kind of a role, but उसके experience में ज़्यादातर security या administration related चीज दिख रहा है, okay? और जो लैंग्वेज यूज किया है उसमें काफी मिलिट्री जार्गन है जो कि कॉर्पोरेट को समझ नहीं आ रहा है. तो दैट कुड आल्सो बी वन ऑफ द रीजन. दूसरा हो सकता है द वॉल्यूम ऑफ एप्लीकेशंस. आपको भी पता है वन जॉब ओपन hundreds of applications, and in most of the places actually veterans will compete with the corporate the civilian counterpart. तो वहां पर and अगर फौज की बात करें तो हो सकता है कि जो ट्रांसफरिंग वेटरन्स के हैं, अगर एक पोजीशन के मान लीजिए 10 हैं, तो हो सकता है कि 10 के 10 इट ऑलमोस्ट लुक सिमिलर. तो उसमें से किसको पिकअप किया जाए और किसको छोड़ा जाए, बेसिकली इट मे गेट लॉस्ट इन द क्राउड. वो भी रीजन हो सकता है, राइट? एंड अगर मैं इंटरव्यू की बात करूं कि इंटरव्यू में ऐसा क्या रीजन हो सकता है जिससे रिजेक्शन हो सकती है. So the first one is, a too much gap between what is written in the resume and when the person answers in the question during the interview, they see a lot of gap. आपके resume में लिखा है प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट आपने किया है, right? बट अगर उसको थोड़ा डिटेल में जाके पूछें, मान लीजिए प्रोजेक्ट शेड्यूलिंग के बारे में पूछें, या एस्केलेशन मैट्रिक्स के बारे में पूछें, या प्रोजेक्ट प्लानिंग के बारे में पूछे, so the hiring manager or the interviewer actually does not find the scale and depth that is understood by them or by understood by the corporate. तो वहां उनको थोड़ा सा गैप नजर आ सकता है. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल पहले when I was actually leaving, so I used to apply for project management in telecommunication field. There I myself found that certain questions were too technical and मैं आंसर नहीं कर पा रहा था. And then I thought, okay, I think this particular field is actually not for me. And ये भी हो सकता है, right? Now कि एक particular job खुला है, but somebody else is already lined up for it, and that बाकी लोगों को तो बुलाया गया, so is everybody gets a fair chance, but somebody is already lined up for it. तो उसमें you can't do much about it, right? और ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि उस पर्टिकुलर जॉब के लिए किसी को इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाया गया, बट इन बिटवीन वो पर्टिकुलर पोजीशन की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं रही, either cost restructuring or department restructuring or something, or maybe I remember when I used to take interview, काफी दफा हुआ when हम इंटरव्यू तो ले लेते थे, and in between suddenly that project actually used to get delayed because of the client requirement. तो उसकी वजह से क्या हो जाता था, we could not actually progress, but people were good, people were selected, but only thing we could not give them offer letter because वो project delay हो गया. So ऐसे भी कुछ reasons होते हैं जो कि, and these reasons are basically beyond our control, beyond the control of the candidate. वो अपना resume अच्छा कर सकता है, interview अच्छा कर सकता है, लेकिन प्रोजेक्ट आएगा नहीं आएगा या उस पर्टिकुलर पोजीशन वो बंद हो गई, दैट इज नॉट इन देयर कंट्रोल. एंड व्हेन यू आस्क्ड अबाउट कि क्या रेट हो सकती है, आई मीन कितने रिजेक्शन हो सकते हैं, ऑल कोई पर्टिकुलर फिगर है. लाइक आई वाज स्पीकिंग टू समवन, उन्होंने बोला कि दे आर अप्लाइंग फॉर ऑलमोस्ट 2 to 3 जॉब एवरी डे, चाहे वो लिंक्डइन में हो सकता है, नौकरी, टाइम्स, इंडीड, ये सब मिला के. सो इमेजिन करो, मतलब 50 to 60 जॉब्स एवरी डे, 2 to 3, एंड द एंड रिजल्ट, I think just got a call from one particular place. Similarly, the other person is applying 3 to 4 jobs every day, मतलब 1.5 महीने में कम से कम 150, एंड उसको भी जो है आई थिंक 2 या 3 जगह से कॉल आया, एक जगह he could actually clear the first round. So the point what I'm going to make here is it does not actually depends on how many places you apply. कि मैं ज्यादा जगह कर दूंगा तो हो सकता है मेरा सक्सेस रेशियो ज्यादा हो जाए, right? So it's not like that. But at the same time, one should also understand कि अगर rejection है तो rejection should be taken as a redirection, मतलब full stop नहीं है वहां पर. So I think if you actually remember these reasons, तो common reasons है, कुछ हमारे कंट्रोल में, कुछ हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं. Over to you, Vipul.
I understand there can be a number of reasons. Some would be in my control, some would not be in my control. सब है, but there is an emotional impact of rejection. At least it used to. अभी भी लगता है, अगर मेरे को अभी भी कोई मना करता है, rejections do hurt. Then how do you say that, or how do you suggest that one handles the emotional impact of getting rejected in a job? More so when most of the times we have already worked for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, there's sufficient experience. And I mean, how does one handle that particular aspect?
Okay. See, the first thing that everybody needs to remember is it's a normal phenomenon. Right? ये unusual नहीं है कुछ भी rejection होने में. Because if you see in our day-to-day life, personal life हो चाहे professional life हो, we don't get success in everything that we do to the desired level. चाहे वो फौज में हो, हमने कुछ operations किया हो, कोई projects किया हो, right? We do not get success every time to the level that we desire for. So that is also one kind of rejection, one kind of setback. But we actually take it and just move it ahead. So basically, it is okay to feel disappointed, but that should not stop us from moving ahead. But it's not, right? So it's not okay to give up. Now, you asked कि emotionally इसको कैसे tackle किया जा सकता है, right? So first thing is build your support system. That means engage with your fellow veterans, maybe mentors, maybe a support group, because others should have also faced similar kind of situations. So we can actually take learnings from there. Like if we don't have so much time to that, we can actually only learn from our own mistakes. We need to learn from others' mistakes as well. तो हम उनसे पूछें कि how did they tackle these rejections? So you will basically get some emotional support from the other groups as well. And एक reassurance रहेगा कि चलो ठीक है, this is not only with me, it is with others as well. Second is, we need to take some time out, because अभी जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, applying daily to 2-3 places and we are not hearing anything, but हम apply किए जा रहे हैं. So in that case, we actually need to take some time out and, focus also on the effort and not only the result. कि यार अगर मेरा ऑफर नहीं आ रहा है मतलब आई एम अ फेलियर. इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट. अगर मान लीजिए कहीं पर आपका रिज्यूमे एक्सेप्ट हो रहा है, सो दैट इज वन स्टेप. दैट मीन्स मेरा एटलीस्ट रिज्यूमे अलाइन हुआ है और आई नो हाउ टू मेक अ रिज्यूमे according to the job description, so that first step is actually successful. Because everything we cannot tie up to the end result कि अगर मेरे को नौकरी नहीं मिली या जॉब ऑफर नहीं आया मतलब all the efforts that I have put in is actually a failure. ऐसा नहीं है, बट हम ऐसा सोचते हैं. So we need to break down full that process into a smaller part and say कि चलो at least I am able to reach second step. So at least I have reached to the third step. Only salary negotiation part was left जिसमें कि मैं शायद नहीं कर पाया, right? So maybe next time I can do better. Like if I talk about myself, I must have applied for almost 80 plus different jobs, different resume, different jobs. And whenever my resume used to reach the first level, अगर मुझे call आता था, I used to feel happy कि चलो whatever I have done with respect to my resume, जो मैंने alignment किया है, at least that is a success part. अगर आप ऐसे करोगे, then जो emotional जो backlog है और emotional load है, वो थोड़ा कम रहेगा. And one more thing is, finally we need to take that ownership, because it was that concerned person who decided that I should, make that transition. तो अगर आप ये सोचोगे okay, it was my decision and I need to sort this out and there will be a way out. Maybe sometimes it requires a little more patience, but again, rejection is not the end. It's a place to basically pause, make a self-reflection and see how it actually can be improved. So remaining positive is very, very important and not bothering about one or two failure and उसमें इतना ज़्यादा time waste नहीं करना चाहिए that you do not see other opportunity which are open. Over to you.
Sir, आपने जैसे बताया कि there are different stages at which one might not get the job one is desiring for. तो एक तो वो feedback mechanism हो गया कि भाई मेरा resume level पर हुआ या interview या salary negotiation, and one can, what else can a transitioning veteran learn from I would say, okay, let's say every rejection for that matter. क्या सीख सकते हैं and how can that feedback be looped into the process, so that if you can share any personal example or any example for any officer you have been working with, which is like which gives us a relevance.
Okay. See, when you actually get a lot of rejection, the first thing is I said, take a step back and try to analyze the pattern. कि problem कहाँ है? What is the root cause? Is my resume not getting selected at the first place? अगर ऐसा है, so it might be that I am applying for a wrong roles. That particular role is actually not aligned with my skills or experience set. ऐसा हो सकता है. That means then I need to focus on some other roles. और दूसरा है कि अगर इंटरव्यू में I can reach to the interview, but somehow interview I'm not getting clear. Then where is the root cause? What is the problem? Am I getting stuck in the technical questions, or is it becoming very difficult for me to answer even the first question? Tell me about yourself. मैं वहीं पर जाके अटक जाता हूँ बार बार. Or maybe some kind of a behavioral question. Whenever they ask, I get stuck. So first is identifying what is the root cause. वो आइडेंटिफाई करना बहुत जरूरी है. Then only the second steps can take place कि उसके बाद मुझे करना क्या है. The second thing that can be done is show your resume to either veterans or even your civilian friends who are in the corporate. And I'll tell you, giving a personal example, when I was making that move, I had a classmate who had almost 20 years of work experience in the corporate, civilian था. So when I showed him my resume, he's saying कि आपने क्या लिखा है, मतलब I know you have written good, you talked about a lot of things that you actually did in Navy, ships and submarine, but how is it relevant with the corporate? You are asking for IT project management or a project e-governance. So how is it related? I mean, he said, मैं फौजी kid हूँ, but if I can hardly make out half of it, just imagine अगर कोई civilian है तो उसको क्या समझ आएगा. So get feedback from these people, especially the civilian ones, and बाकी से भी. So उससे आपको पता चलेगा कि where is the problem and how do I go about it. अगर interview के बाद हर बार problem आ रहा है, so we can actually seek feedback on the interview also, but some of them may give, some of them may not give. I'll tell you what I used to do, especially for that online interview जहाँ पर जो screening हो रही होती है. So I used to keep my mobile on one side and just record what I am saying and how I am saying, because communication is two things. One is the content, मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ, और दूसरा है कि मैं कैसे बोल रहा हूँ, how confident, how with what conviction actually I am telling the other person. So I used to record it and myself and later see it कि कहाँ पर where are the scope there I can actually improve upon. तो ये हम अपने आप से खुद कर सकते हैं. So once you know this, then you refine your approach. अब जैसे हम लोग जब फायरिंग करते हैं, मान लो आप फायरिंग किए जा रहे हो और देख रहे हो कि इन स्पाइट ऑफ टेकिंग दैट सही एम ले रहे हो आप बुलसाई में, बट आपके मान लो बुलेट्स या तो ऊपर जा रहे हैं या नीचे जा रहे हैं, तो फिर आप थोड़ा बाद देर में जाके जब चेक करते हो उसका फिर यू टेक दैट कोर्स करेक्शन, राइट, यू अलाइन इट, ओके इसमें इतना साइड एरर है. सो सिमिलरली हियर ऑल्सो once you applied and you see okay इस पर्टिकुलर रोल के लिए मेरा नहीं आ रहा है, सो कैन आई चेंज दैट रोल, और इस पर्टिकुलर इंडस्ट्री में बिल्कुल नहीं आ रहा है, सो इज इट दैट आई एम एक्चुअली अप्लाइंग इन रॉन्ग इंडस्ट्री, तो क्या करना है. तो अगेन गिविंग यू अ पर्सनल एग्जांपल, आई हैड अप्लाइड फॉर द प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट रोल, राइट, इन आईटी. So when they used to ask questions about how do you schedule a project or how do you monitor and evaluate or costing and budgeting, I used to give answers जो हम लोग नेवी में करते थे, but somehow I used to find that they were not very convinced, or it used to feel that they were looking for something else. Maybe I was not able to translate those skills using the methodology or terminology which they were used to hear. Yeah, project management. Yeah. And that was the time when I actually did PMP. So I did PMP after leaving this service. I mean, after retirement and when applying for so many places, and I was not able to tackle those kind of questions. So that was the time I thought, okay, मुझे कुछ करना चाहिए. So that is basically upskilling part. So whenever you see the gap, you can see whether कुछ course करना चाहिए, कुछ program करना चाहिए, या कुछ certification करना चाहिए. So upskilling in that industry standard courses or certification could be the way out. So if you remember these points, I think it's going to help.
सर इसी से रिलेटेड आगे जैसे अब आपने बोला कि शो इट टू योर सिविलियन फ्रेंड, शो इट टू आई मीन टेक फीडबैक फ्रॉम फौजीज हु आर ऑलरेडी आउट देयर एंड ऑल. सो एक तो तरीका है जो हमने पीछे कवर भी किया कि लिंक्डइन से करें कनेक्ट और फौजियों से और सिविलियन से. व्हाट एल्स वुड यू सजेस्ट? ऑनलाइन नेटवर्किंग, पर्सनल नेटवर्किंग, हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इज नेटवर्किंग इन रिड्यूसिंग rejections, and how would you suggest that veterans or would to be veterans, both the categories, can improve their networking and build strong network of people?
Okay, well, networking proverb hai, I think most of you must have heard, which actually says that it does not matter what you know, what matters is who you know. All of you know that most of the jobs, rather many jobs at the level where we are pitching, actually does not come in the open. वो advertise भी नहीं होती है, and generally they are filled up through reference or recommendation. क्योंकि रेफरल सिस्टम का एक अपना एडवांटेज होता है विच ऑल ऑफ अस नो, बिकॉज वो फास्ट है, इजी है, एंड when you get people through one of the employees, you can be rest assured that that particular person will generally do well, trustworthy person you'll get. It also saves the cost for the company. And if you have someone who is there in that particular company, so he can give you a lot of inside information also about that role, उस particular role में क्या challenges है, what is it that company will expect from you at that particular level, who will take the interview, generally what kind of questions will they ask, what is generally salary range that you will be offered. So ये काफी information आपको job listing में शायद नहीं होगा, but if you know someone, all these benefits you will get. So that's why more number of people especially in your sector, your industry, your kind of domain or role, better it is. To tell you, even I got my job through networking. I found my course mate who had left after about 14 years in the army. And when I left, he had already about 9-10 years of work experience outside. So he knew someone, again a Fauji. So he got me connected through him. And then he sent me for a client interview. So you see, if it can actually work for me, it can work for others as well. So networking is basically, like a military intelligence. So it's basically gathering more and more information before the action starts. Now, you are also asked, how do you build up a strong network? If networking is so important, so how do we go about building it up? So first thing is, start from the existing network. Maybe your colleagues, your classmates, relatives, friends, veterans who are making a transition, veterans who have already made a transition, they are well established in the corporate. So we can actually start from there first. Second is connect with the people who are in your industry, who are doing the kind of task that actually you want to do. Attend the events, maybe it is online events, offline events, networking events, even the event that Value Network is planning on 29th of September. So these kind of the events, because you will get people from the industry and you can meet them one-on-one. Making online connection is totally different from meeting someone physically and making that connection. And third is using LinkedIn. We have also spoken a lot about this. So using LinkedIn to connect with other professionals in your domain, be a part of industry groups, right? Participate in the discussion, share post, comments on others' post. So basically make yourself visible so that your network in your area of interest actually grows. So I think if you remember these few points, obviously your networking is going to be
So
strong.
with this, sir, I understand that networking is an important part and at every stage. So if I am not in a position to attend a physical networking, I should at least start by my doing my LinkedIn profile and networking online and through WhatsApp and all. In this, LinkedIn becomes a very important and potential platform to network. So I would like to ask you a straight up question here. How can I improve my LinkedIn profile in terms of tailoring it to kind of align it better with the corporate jobs and basis that also work my resume?
So you would have heard this, someone said that your resume is your first handshake with an employer. So make it a firm one. And you asked about resume. So how do we tailor our resume? Let's talk about that. So first thing is we need to make it relevant. Make it relevant means highlighting those skills and experience which is required to undertake the key responsibilities that has been listed in the job description. Now, in fact, I was talking to someone, so that particular person actually gave a very good example. He said, all of us have a lot of clothes in our cupboard. We may have suit, we may have, pullovers, jackets, traditional attire, okay, shorts, jeans, formal, informal, everything, right? But when we go on a trip, do we carry, all the items? We don't, right? We carry only those things which is required for that particular kind of event. If you're going for a marriage function, we'll carry a different set. If you're going for a beach holiday, we carry a different set. So I think similar kind of approach needs to be done when it comes to the resume. The second is it needs to be made engaging. When I say engaging means basically if somebody reads it, he should be able to understand your achievements, your accomplishments, right, in the manner that is easily understood in the corporate sector. चाहे वो quantification of data हो, चाहे वो relevant keywords हो, जो कि उस particular job description में चाहिए. For example, अगर supply chain के लिए है, तो does it actually have, let's say, inventory management? Does it have transportation? Does it have contract negotiation? Does it have budgeting? So these are the keywords which anybody will look for whenever somebody is looking into the supply chain manager kind of a role. Now, the second is LinkedIn. Now, you rightly mentioned, most of us, especially the transitioning veterans, are on LinkedIn. But when you actually go into their profile, most of them have not actually put everything. That means it has got actually so many sections, starting from your banner to photo, headline, about section, experience, skills, volunteering, courses, program, projects, languages, right, causes, recommendations. So first is we need to complete these because each one of them means something. That's why it is there. And the second part is optimizing it. So when we say optimizing, it means basically it should orient towards the direction where you want to go. Instead of having everything there, if your role is, let's say, IT project management or into cyber security, then if a recruiter or a hiring manager or even if anybody else reads your profile, by reading your LinkedIn profile, they have some idea or some inclination that this particular person actually has more of cyber security or IT related experience. So that is very important because generally what we see, रिज्यूमे में अलग टाइप का है, एंड व्हेन समबडी क्लिक्स ऑन दैट प्रोफाइल, लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल, जो कि हर आजकल रिज्यूमे में सबसे टॉप में दिया जाता है, दे सी कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट पिक्चर. तो थोड़ा काफी ज्यादा गैप दिखता है, राइट. आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट इट नीड्स टू बी रेप्लिका ऑफ LinkedIn needs to be replica of resume. I'm not saying that, right? It needs to complement, but it should not be so diverse that it becomes difficult for somebody to see whether this particular person is ये resume वाला बंदा है या जो LinkedIn में लिखा है वो है. After optimizing, you need to use LinkedIn extensively for connecting to people in your industry, your domains, right? And attending a lot of online events. There are a lot of online events on everyday basis. If you say cyber security, if you say HR, if you say any topic, there will be so many online events that is actually happening, and anybody can actually join. A lot of professional groups on LinkedIn. You name a domain or a role, and there will be more than at least 20, 30 good groups I'm talking about, where the number of participants will be in thousands, if not lakhs. So by utilizing this resume and LinkedIn strategically, I think one can help to align or tailor according to the job that is actually open and the goal that one has. मुझे किस साइड पे जाना है उसके अनुसार किया जा सकता है.
Sir, last question before I invite the audience to step in. In spite of all this, there would be some situations wherein some individuals might still continue to not get either the appropriate jobs or are facing more rejections than what ideally should be. What would be your recommendations and suggestions how to handle that particular situation?
काफी important question actually. So as we said, right, if something undesirable is happening every time, that means there is something which is not in order. इतना तो हमें पता चल गया. And we also found out what is not in order. And after that, obviously, we'll tackle it and we'll bridge that gap, whether it is a resume, whether it is a skill, whether it is a course, whether it is a certification, and that required upskilling will be done. Now, in fact, one of my mentor, what he used to say, that if somebody is, let's say, thinking of moving from Delhi to Jaipur, अगर वो drive कर रहा है Delhi to Jaipur, there are only two conditions when he actually cannot reach Jaipur. The first is if he actually stops in between and he says, इसके आगे मुझे नहीं जाना. और दूसरा, he goes half the way and then changes his destination from Jaipur to Kota. I think in only these two conditions he will never reach. Otherwise, अगर वो चलेगा भी तो he'll reach. So कहने का मतलब ये है कि once you find out what were the lacunae or what were the scope of improvement wherever it is required, if that is done, then obviously it will happen. It may take some time, obviously, yes, right, but it will happen. अगर फिर भी नहीं हो रहा है, then maybe one needs to explore some different path, different career path. Like I was interested in project management, right? So initially I started with telecommunication. I applied in a lot of places, Nokia, Siemens, Motorola, ये सब जहाँ जहाँ. But somehow actually so it was not happening. Either most of the places resume was not getting selected, or कहीं select भी हो रहा था तो even first level, the kind of question they were asking actually I couldn't tackle. So then I knew कि मुझे project management करना है लेकिन ये वाले field में नहीं. So telecommunication was out. And then that's why I said, okay, project management मेरा role ठीक है, field ठीक है, लेकिन ये domain अलग करना पड़ेगा मुझे. That means then I started looking more into IT and e-governance. And that's how my success rate for the resume actually got more. And even in the interview, it was slightly easier to tackle those kind of questions. So आप भी ये कर सकते हो. अगर आपको लग रहा है कि बार बार मैं कर रहा हूँ लेकिन it is not happening, that means maybe जो आप जॉब रोल में कर रहे हो शायद वो उसमें एक रीलुक की जरूरत है. क्योंकि अगर सब कुछ है फिर भी नहीं हो रहा, मतलब there is obviously some problem. Because एक पर्टिकुलर लोकेशन में जाने के लिए there could be multiple route, right? If you tried this, अगर नहीं हो रहा है तो बार बार वहां से जाने की जरूरत नहीं. Maybe you can take this side. आप ये सेकंड वाले रूट ट्राई करो ना, क्योंकि आपको जाना तो है ही वहां पर. देयर इज नो टू वे अबाउट इट. एंड थर्ड इज, अगर हो सकता है इट कुड बी अ ब्लेसिंग इन डिस्गाइज. हो सकता है कि जॉब शायद नहीं करना हो, तो मे बी एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप इज आल्सो ऑप्शन. चलो ठीक है, व्हाटएवर हैपेंस फॉर गुड. अगर हम ऐसा सोचें कि जो होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है, तो हो सकता है कि चलो ठीक है जॉब नहीं तो लेट्स मे बी स्टार्ट अ योर ओन कंपनी और समथिंग और योर ओन जॉब. तो ये भी हो सकता है, राइट? बिकॉज वन नीड्स टू बेसिकली कीप मूविंग वो कहा ना किसी ने कि मंजिलें मिलेंगी भटक कर ही सही, गुमराह तो वो हैं जो घर से निकले ही नहीं.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I believe that taken step by step, people can reduce the. It cannot become zero because zero rejections is not a statistical possibility. Uh, but it can be reduced, and people can find the opportunities which help them and also the organizations they would eventually be part of. Thank you so much for your time for this, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vipul. Thank you so much.